Hey everyone, it's Mallory here with All About Cats, and in this week's video we're taking a look at the Good Pet Stuff hidden litter box. So you might remember that I touched upon this litter box over a year ago now in our first video on the best litter boxes you can buy. It didn't make it into our second version of that roundup, but it's still a litter box that I think is pretty interesting. And if you're looking for a litter box that is a little bit more discreet, can fit into a small apartment, or just, generally a subtle litter box, this one is going to cross your radar. So I thought it would be interesting to go a little bit more in depth on this litter box and tell you what's good about it and what's not so good about it, and whether or not I think that is going to be worth the price. So let's start off with this litter box's design and construction. So this litter box is obviously intended to look like a planter. It's made from this relatively thin plastic material that's fairly flexible. It has a top, and that stacks over the bottom tray, and that's where all of that litter is going to go. On the top, you're going to have this little filter that is intended to help to filter out dust and odor. And on top of that is going to be a little nest of sort of artificial grass and, of course, this fake plant. So the first thing that I noticed when I started putting together this planter, it does not have that rugged, robust feeling that you might expect if you've used more expensive plastic litter boxes. Overall, the feel is it feels a little bit similar to maybe a trash can. It has kind of this relatively porous plastic material that's kind of flexible as you're maneuvering it. The other thing I noticed is that the hole drilled into the top where the fake plant is supposed to go in is off center. So that's just another indicator that this isn't a very carefully constructed or built litter box. It just isn't. Once the litter box is put together, so you put on the top, you've put on the fake plant, it's going to measure 36 inches in height, and then the litter bed measures 19 inches across. Overall, this is not a huge litter box. Yes, your cat has a good amount of headroom in there, which is nice compared to some other covered litter boxes, but that 19-inch diameter does not give your cat a ton of space to turn around in. It's a little bit bigger than some other similar litter boxes. So for instance, the litter bed is bigger than what you get in the Litter Robot 3, but it's still not a huge amount of space. Generally, we're looking for a litter box that's maybe 1.5 times your cat's body length. And for most cats, medium and larger cats, it's not going to fit that description. In terms of cat friendliness, I found that my cats did go into it, but I could see that Wessie was a little bit cramped in there. He's not really a cat who likes using covered litter boxes in general, and I could tell that it was not completely comfortable for him. The other thing to think about is that it has a 6.5-inch distance to the top of that entrance. So your cat is going to have to step over this kind of stoop that measures 6.5 inches in height. And if you're like most people and you fill your litter box up with maybe 3 inches of litter, then your cat's going to kind of step up and then step down into the litter box. Some cats aren't really going to like a litter box that deep. It's certainly deeper than some of the other most popular litter boxes on the market, and probably won't be a good choice for senior cats and kittens and other cats who might prefer a little bit of a more shallow entrance. Overall, I think that this litter box is relatively cat-friendly compared to other covered litter boxes and compared to other litter box enclosures, but it's not really ideal. An uncovered litter box is always going to be the cat-appropriate ideal. Another thing to consider is that because this is a hidden litter box and the idea is to reduce the appearance of a litter box in your home, a lot of people are going to want to put this against a wall and then kind of turn it so that the doorway is almost facing a corner, just to make it a little bit more discreet. And this can present a little bit of a problem. So cats like to have 360 degrees of visibility when they're going into the litter box. It's a very vulnerable position, and this helps them to feel safe. And so if you on top of giving your cat a covered litter box, you put that covered litter box into a corner, and then you make their entryway very close to that corner, very close to the wall. It makes it a little bit of a more compromising position for your cat. And if you already have issues with inter-cat dynamics, or your cat is stressed out and feeling kind of insecure, it's probably not the best choice. So I would certainly watch your cat closely to make sure that they're comfortable with this arrangement. And if they aren't, it's going to be best to just use an open litter box in an open area. So in addition to looking at how my cats reacted to this litter box, I filled it up with a few different types of litter, and I considered how easy it was for me to maintain. So I generally don't care for round litter boxes like this, and the reason is that cats tend to urinate against the walls, and when you're trying to scrape out this inside curve, it gets a little bit difficult. So most litter scoops don't work all that well on that curve. It's just a tiny bit more challenging. I was able to scoop out the waste using a plant-based tofu litter as well as a clumping clay, and it was also compatible with crystal cat litter. It did work, but it was not quite as easy as a litter box with square sides. The other thing that I noticed when I was cleaning this out is that there's no real non-stick coating on this litter box, and so it felt like maybe there was a tiny bit more sticking to this litter box compared to others that I've tried. So something like a non-stick stainless steel litter box is going to have a bit less sticking. Overall, it was perfectly fine. It's not going to create a huge mess, especially if you're pairing it with a good cat litter. I did appreciate that the seam in between the lid or roof and the base is pretty high up. So even if your cat is urinating a little bit higher, it's probably not going to hit that seam. And even if it does, the seam seems to be pretty well sealed. So it's not going to end up with a situation like what I've seen with the Pedant Igloo litter box where you're having leaking around that seal. And I've also seen people complaining of that with the Buddha Dome. So compared to those two products, I think that this is going to be a better option for cats who tend to, urinate higher on the sides. Deep cleaning the litter box was also pretty straightforward. There aren't a lot of cracks and crannies and little crevices where things can collect. My one issue here is that putting on that roof lid is a little bit difficult. You have to position it correctly right there at the front and then bring the other side over, get everything together, make sure the back is lined up. It's certainly easier than something like the Chillax Auto Egg, which was a nightmare to put on every single time. There were a few times when I was able to just get it all in one go. So while that's a little bit challenging, it's not all that difficult, and you are able to just reach in and scoop the litter box out without taking the lid all the way off. So the issue of putting it back together is not a huge concern. Like most covered litter boxes, this litter box is going to help to control scatter and tracking a bit. I did notice some litter coming out of the front, but again, this is going to depend on the type of litter you're using. It's not a complete scatter solution. You're still going to want to pair it with a litter mat. So overall, I would say that this litter box is pretty similar to a lot of other covered litter boxes on the market in terms of performance. It's reasonably generously sized. Your cat gets plenty of headroom, which is nice. It contains a ton of litter, so you're able to get a nice deep bed of litter for your cat to dig around in. And it overall works pretty well. It's easy to clean. It's not going to get jammed up with clumps of litter. It's a relatively high performance litter box. Now, there are some concerns with it. For instance, it might look a little bit cheesy, and the fact that it costs $64.14 means that we're justified in expecting maybe a little bit of a higher construction quality. I would like to see this litter box maybe made from some more robust materials, feature a nicer looking fake plant, and generally feel a little bit more robust and feel more like a premium product. That being said, I haven't found any other litter box enclosures or furniture that are any cheaper than this one while offering the same level of performance. So for those of you who are looking for a solution that can make your litter box a little bit more subtle, this could be the right choice. I know that a lot of people really, really like this litter box. I think that it's going to very much appeal to those of you who have limited space, you hate the way that the litter box looks, you have guests coming over, and you just don't want people to know that you have a litter box. This litter box does a great job of disguising all of that while adding a little bit of style to your home. And if you are someone who thinks it looks kind of cheesy and you don't like the way the fake plant looks, or maybe the color doesn't coordinate with your house, you can get a lot of inspiration from the reviews on Amazon. I'll put a link to that in the description. There are a lot of people who spray painted it, replaced the plant, and have made it coordinate with their home decor. So plenty of inspiration and opportunities to do cool things with this litter box. So I hope that this review helped you to get a better understanding of what this litter box is all about and whether or not it could be a good choice for your home. Again, a little bit expensive for decent performance compared to other covered litter boxes, but I think the really big selling point is the fact that it disguises the box at a price that you can't really find in any other similar product that does that job. Again, I really hope this video was helpful for you. If you're interested in more product reviews like this one, as well as buyer's guides and information on all things cats and veterinary information with Dr. Sarah Wooten, please subscribe to the All About Cats channel. We put out new videos at least once a week, so there's always something to look forward to. And I hope to see you around. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Bye.